What's up, gamers? It's time for another episode of Heroes Charge. Happy Saturday. That's right, today we're going to eat some Taste of Asia after this, and it's going to be fan-freaking-tastic. Alright, so I did get a request on YouTube recently. Someone brought up the idea of discussing what heroes some of the newer players, like lower level players, I should say, should consider using and boosting up. So I'll kind of give you a few of my recommendations. And they also wanted me to check out maybe some combos, a combination of people to use. Um, and I can go over that a little bit too, because there are a few combos that I've noticed in the higher rankings that seem pretty strong. So I'll go over a couple of those, and we'll see where it takes us. So first and foremost, gonna let you guys know that I'm not really gonna go too much into just hot sell heroes. It's gonna be basically from the common places you can get heroes from. So first and foremost, avoid the soul shop. In all reality, I'm going to be honest with you. Most of these heroes suck. Swordmaster, I think, is terrible. He was okay in like a lower level raid, like I think maybe chapter 14 at best. I'm not even sure he was even that good there. I didn't put dual wield at 5 star, but I'm not impressed. Cat Fencer, I tried to push him to see, what he could do. Not impressed. I have not tried Inferno or Evil Blood, so I really can't really comment on those two. But overall, I would just say avoid the Soul Shop as far as getting heroes for now. Um, I would probably use a Soul Shop if you have it to get you some items, and I wouldn't waste my time on getting like any of the item pieces. Spending 515 on an Earth Helm, like 5 pieces of it. Save up enough to where you can actually buy an item that you need. So if you want a Golok Artin reel for 38.85, then that's what you're gonna spend it on, assuming that one of your heroes needs it. So especially if you're in the lower levels, it's really a waste to get any of these heroes in this area. Focus on the items and focus on getting the actual item, not the pieces of said item. Unless you happen to be just 5 shards away from making an item, that would be the only time I would recommend getting like pieces. But that would be about it. So I'll kind of throw that over there. Next, I'm going to go over real quick. I guess I'll talk about Crusade Heroes. So, Crusade is one of the easiest areas to push one person at a time because, I mean, if you're playing, whether you're playing on like the easier mode or the harder difficulty, you'll earn enough to at least push one hero 2, maybe 3 times. I think you may have to be playing on hard mode to do it 3 times per day, but I only play on hard, but I haven't had to really get heroes to this lately because I get them done pretty quickly. As far as the heroes to focus on for your crusade, I would highly recommend Desert Lycan. He's actually pretty good in both arena and in guild raid. So he'd probably be my number one pick at the moment for that group. Number two, you could either go between either Cross Knight or Lightbringer. The only reason I even bring up Cross Knight is because now he has a legendary skill that basically is good for your defensive teams. But I think I would prefer Lightbringer over him only because with Divine Knight being out, I don't think that these defense teams are going to be lasting any longer. And I'll show you why, because I actually beat a defensive team that if I was using a regular team, I may have struggled with a little. But yeah, I mean, I would personally focus on maybe Lightbringer or Desert Lycan. And the reason I bring up Lightbringer is just because he's decent in arena. But focus on Desert Lycan first in this group. Some might tell you, well, what about Dwarf Warrior? He's good, but I think that you'll find better, frontline heroes in other shops. So Desert Lycan is a good recommendation for lower level people and even higher level people, really. This really could just apply to anyone. Also, as far as arena is concerned, Grand Arena is going to be the next place where you're going to be able to get your heroes pumped faster. The reason for this is you're constantly getting gold every so many minutes or hours. So, I mean, you're going to easily be able to, without even putting so much effort into it, getting your heroes pumped faster. As far as recommendations, personally, I like Griffin. I think Griffin really, really enhances your offensive, teams getting your rank up in arena pretty well. He's got lots of good control abilities, decent on damage. He's just pretty good. There's not really much you could say about that. Other than that, I mean, my other one that I would highly, highly recommend is Vengeance Spirit. It just says Vengeance on here, but the full name is Vengeance Spirit. She is fantastic. Actually, I would probably argue to say that you might want to get her before Griffin. The only reason is because I've noticed that ever since I started using Vengeance Spirit, which is only recently, not only has she made my arena team better, but she's made my guild raid teams better as far as dealing damage is concerned. She has good control ability. She deals tons of damage. She's just overall a really, really good hero that I overlooked for so long. Like, I feel bad that I didn't push her much sooner. So yeah, I think actually Vengeance Spirit would probably be number one, followed by Griffin. Now, some people will say, what about Fallen Dominion or Cloudwalker? They're both really good. They're just not as good as they once were. I mean, if for some reason you don't like either Vengeance Spirit or Griffin, you just think that they're garbage, then feel free to push Fallen Dominion or Cloudwalker. I mean, they're both decent in their own respects. I personally think Fallen Dominion is better than Cloudwalker. So if you're really going to go the, a third route, a Fallen Dominion is the best way to go. Now, when I give you recommendations, and assuming that you decide to do this or do a variant of what I say, one thing I will tell you is focus on one hero at a time. As opposed to just me paying 500 for Vengeance and 500 for Fallen Dominion, pay 500 for Vengeance, refresh it, pay the 10 gold or whatever it is the first time, do it again, refresh it one more time, pay like the 10. Once you're done with your first two refreshes and you've paid more or less 3 times for a hero, you're done for the day. You don't have to really push any further. You just want to make sure that you get those heroes at 5 stars as soon as you can so you can really start using them. So, though, that's another thing I would recommend. Arena heroes, I'm going to be honest with you, it's really, really difficult to get your heroes at 5 stars here because you have to actually have a decent arena or grand arena rank to really produce any good numbers. So, I mean, as far as this is concerned, I mean, unless you're really high in arena rankings, I wouldn't be too worried about pushing anyone specifically. Um, Personally, I would say Death Knight would be my number one on this list. Um, Turtle Fighter is also a big deal. And then, of course, that'll be really it for the most part. I mean, I do like Hidden Needle, but I've noticed in higher levels it just depends on the matchup. But yeah, Death Knight and Turtle Fighter are really going to be the ones you want to aim for. And just like everything else, focus on one hero at a time until the 5 star, then go to the next. And the reason I'm giving you guys 2 or maybe 3 options is because you may not like my recommendation. So at least you have a secondary or maybe a third hero to go on. Because just because I tell you something's good doesn't necessarily mean it's the best advice. I'm not necessarily the best at the game. Keep in mind that I'm ranked 282, not ranked 2. So, but I mean, I've been doing decent for what I have. And let's see about a different area where you can get heroes. The guild shop. The guild shop is easy to get heroes as long as you actually participate in guild raid. If you're the type of person that doesn't participate in guild raid, then clearly you're not going to be getting enough items to make or to push your heroes. So definitely do all your daily stuff as far as the guild raid because that's what's going to get you like I think at least 500 a day. And plus, if you've dealt decent amount of damage, by the time that raid is finished, assuming that you actually complete the raid, you'll actually get more of these that you can use to get whatever you want. Um, my number one recommendation in this particular area is Puppet Master. A lot of people will tell you Ninja Assassin or Arcane Stopper, and those are not bad at all. But me personally, I say that Puppet Master is the one to push. As a matter of fact, we actually had a discussion in our guild chat the other day about this. About, someone that has so many heroes, but they didn't know who to push. The first person I said was Puppet Master. He's arguably the best hero, backline hero, I should say. Some might say Sorceress is better. Some might even say Manipulator, which I really disagree with. But Puppet Master, he lives a lot longer. He destroys the opposing backline. So if they're running like Lightbringer and Sorceress or whatever backline combinations, Puppet Master is going to tear them to shreds at the same time. Like he's really really good. He's a big time damage dealer too. You know what I mean? He's gonna be dealing you 100k damage at times. But yeah, Puppet Master I think is the very first hero you should go for. There was a time in my life I would have recommended Commander, but now that like Rose Fencer is such a big deal these days, don't even waste your time. So Puppet Master, and if you don't like that idea, I would highly recommend either Arcane Stopper or Ninja Assassin. But yeah, remember we're focused on one hero at a time. Guild Tournament. Well, this one, I'm gonna be honest with you. I really don't know absolutely who to recommend because most of these heroes are actually really good in their own respect. One of my now I've been recently working on Demon Assassin, just because I'm just curious to see how good she is. But my number one at the moment, as far as if I was to give you something to use, I would say Sorceress would be my number one pick. She's good in both arena and guild raid, so she's gonna do a lot of damage. She's got some good control abilities. She's just worth pushing. As far as the number two, like I said, this is the one thing that I'm not 100% sure as who you should run. If you're really focused on guild tournament, I mean, Troll Princess is an idea. Because I'm not a guild tournament, but guild raid. Troll Princess is pretty good, from what I've been told. As far as arena is concerned, Fiend Slayer and Chemist and Tarot Prophet seem to be really, really popular these days. So, and even Ooze, but I usually don't lose to a lot of teams that have Ooze, so I don't know. But those are just kind of a few heroes to consider. I'm not sure if I'm missing anything or not. I wouldn't focus too much on hot seller if you're not VIP, high enough. Another thing I kind of wanted to go over real quick too is some decent teams setups. Now, I'm not going to give you like 5-person teams that are going to be like the greatest. I'm more or less going to give you like maybe 2 or 3 good combinations of people to use together. Probably the most popular that I've run into are Turtle Fighter, Sorceress, and Rose Fencer. I'll explain why. The theory behind why this combination is good in just about any team is because what happens in the beginning of the match is that Turtle Fighter is going to go behind your team. So, and this is assuming that they're fighting you. So, Turtle Fighter goes behind your team, so your forces are already divided. Their sorceress is going to knock their people that's in the front and maybe even the middle back as well, which means now everybody's in one big cluster, which means now your Rose Fencer can affect everybody. Because the reason that Sorceress is important is if you just had Turtle Fighter and Rose Fencer will more or less be able to control the frontline hero, and they'll be able to control the midline heroes, but not necessarily the backline heroes. And sometimes you want to just put a stop to Sorceress's BS. So in order to do that, you're going to need to use Sorceress to kind of put them all together because they're not going to be advancing because Turtle Fighter's already like behind you. So I'll give you kind of an example of a fight because I did have a fight recently. I've had quite a few fights like this, so I'll kind of show you. I think it was one that I lost. Was it this one? Let's try this one. I actually don't remember at the moment, so let's check this team out. No, this is not it. Hold on. I know I had a team that I lost to. It might have been this team that actually made me lose rank. Let's check this one out. Yeah, here we go. Alright, so we're doing this in slow motion so you can see this. So Turtle Fighter gets behind my team. Rose Fencer's in front. Boom. My team gets knocked back. We're all in one line, literally. So now Rose Fencer can more or less, because he deals lots of damage, so he can lay the beat down on you. He can control your heroes so they're not able to act, especially if you're running females. And of course, Sorceress is going to deal a ton of damage as well. You're just going to die because your forces are divided. And then Ninja Assassin clearly like decimated my backline, and You know, I mean, this was a really, really good setup as far as beating my team. So, yeah, congrats to this guy. So, this is why that combination's good. Just like I told you, you know, Terrifier went behind me, Sorceress pushed us back, and then Rose Fencer more or less controlled the rest of the game while everybody else kind of did the beatdown. And this was a level 103, so this person was what level? Lower than me, and was able to really just dominate. I mean, take a look at that damage. Sorceress, of course, over 200k on their side. Ninja Assassin hit me for 131. Rose Fence didn't do a ton of damage, but he basically controlled my heroes. And if I was using like Sorceress in my backline, she would have literally done nothing because of Rose Fencer. So, you know, like I said, the combination of Turtle Fighter, Rose Fencer, and Sorceress is awesome. As far as the Fighter Ram Manipulator and Ninja Assassin, that's just more of a taste. You don't necessarily have to run those two. You could probably run any other two good heroes, and the results probably would have been the same. And I said good heroes, by the way. So don't go running like Lightning Master and some other crappy hero and expect to win. So that's really the best combo that I can think to tell you guys. And this works probably whether you're lower level or higher level. I mean, I haven't been lower level in a while, so it's hard for me to remember exactly what I did in the past to be good because, you know, the meta changes every, you know, so many months. So it's hard to say. But for now, that's the combination to use. The other combinations I'm going to talk to you about are going to be combinations that I would recommend because of legendary status. So, for example, those of you that are familiar with Death Knight's skill, anybody with his symbol gets an increase in armor. So, if you're going to run Death Knight, which I highly recommend, he's really a really good tank. One of the best tanks in the game for sure. And you can run him with Death Mage because Death Mage is really good, and you can run Sorceress. Sorceress is really good. Those are two people that you can run. You don't have to have a team full of people with Death Knight's, you know, emblem. But if you run Sorceress and or Death Mage, I think you'll be fine as long as you run two other good teams or two other good heroes. So definitely something to consider. Because like I said, as far as teams are concerned, combinations, the best ones that I could recommend are people that are good because of legendary ability. That's really it. Other than the turtle fighter thing I talked to you about. I'm trying to see if there's any other. In the past, I would have recommended Commander with a few females, but the problem is with Rose Fencer running Rampage, Commander is just useless these days. Like it's kind of sad. Like I said like many months ago before I was even recording, that Commander was one of the best frontline fighters in the game, and now I regret saying it. That reminds me, I never did tell you guys that you should run Rose Fencer. So I forgot where you can get him at. I think he's regular arena, but let me double check. Yes. So when I told you to get Turtle Fighter, which I do recommend, and Death Knight, which I do recommend, if you need a number three or even a number one, Rose Fencer would be bad in one of your top three picks to focus on because honestly, he's just really good in combos that I just mentioned. Uh, you know, he's literally stopped the all female team lineup that was going rampage for a while. It really makes you like it makes your opponent make weird, awkward decisions on what teams they should run. All right, back to what I was saying here. So, team combinations: Death Knight with either Sorceress or Death Mage. Definitely not a bad idea. I'm trying to see if there's anyone else. Oh, and if you're going for the whole like defensive thing, for like your whole like three or four tank lineup with a healer, Soul Hunter with Death Knight is also pretty good too, because they both share the same emblem. So that'll be good for you. Other than that, I'm gonna say a combo that I used to use that I think is still useful more probably for defensive teams is Cleric with Turtle Fighter. Because with Cleric's legendary ability, you know, whenever he heals someone, they get a little bit of magic defense, I believe. So Turtle Fighter obviously will be the one taking the most damage for the most part because he's going to be rolling through their team, you know, taking a lot of hits for you. So with Cleric constantly healing Turtle Fighter, your Turtle Fighter lives longer while the rest of your team pretty much decimates them. That was a combination that actually started putting me in higher rankings as when I was in the 90s. So definitely something to think about. Let's see what else is a good combination because of legendaries. I really don't think there's really much else that's good as far as legendaries. I'm actually kind of disappointed about, most of the heroes that gets boost off of other heroes of the same emblem, because most of them just suck, unfortunately. It's pretty bad. You know, like I really wish that Depth's Voice and what's it called? I have him here somewhere. And Savage One. I really wish that his legendary skill would make Depth's Voice much better. But unfortunately, even with the legendary support, she still gets hit all the time. Like there's not much dodging going on. And for you, so you understand what I'm talking about, Savage One has another one of those emblem abilities. So whoever shares his emblem increases their agility. Um, and I don't know. I don't see that it's really made much of a difference when I tried it. But I was in the level 90s at the time when I was testing this theory. But no. Um, Admiral, I don't really care for Admiral anymore, but I did like running Admiral and Chaplain in a defensive team a long time ago. But that was before a lot of the other tanks came out. So, I mean, it's not so good these days. I'm trying to see if there's any other combinations I can think of that are good. For those of you that are running the whole suicide bomber team, is what I call it. And when I say suicide bomber, I'm talking letting Master Mage die, because her legendary skill basically says, upon death, restores energy to the whole team. So there's a lot of teams out there, and I've used it too in Grand Arena. I'll be honest, and it's more for offensive, not defensive. Where I've actually put Master Mage in front, and then I put like anyone in the middle or back line row who does like massive damage for their ultimate skills. So you put her in front to let her die first, and then you put in people like, we'll say, Sorceress is one, Lightbringer is another one. Some people have used Shadow Leaf or Windmaster. I think that was part of the old school version of the combo. You could also use Hidden Needle, which I highly recommend in that scenario. Some use Silencer, which Um, and basically, that was a good squad. If you want to add a little more depth to that team, if you want to, instead of just relying on her death to help you win, you could also consider. I'm trying to find him. I have him up here, I thought. He's a frontline hero. I used to use him all the time. He should be near the top. Oh, there he is. Lightning Elemental. He also has the legendary skill where once he dies, enemies lose energy. So what this does for that team is when he dies, your opponents are not going to be able to do their ultimates for much longer, which then gives you an opportunity to take advantage of that when Master Mage dies. You're still beating him down, and it gives you a bit of an advantage. So Lightning Elemental with Master Mage and company is not a bad idea, or just not even running at a Lightning Elemental. Just do Master Mage in front with a few others in back, and you're good to go. I will tell you right now that I've seen that team lose a lot to anybody running Turtle Fighter, because Turtle Fighter apparently disrupts that whole thing with other heroes, and it can cause you some problems. So I would only use it in situations in Grand Arena where you see a team that is doable and you need one more win. That combination will be really, really good for you. So those are the combos that I can think of right now. If you find any others that I didn't mention, feel free to comment on it. I'd like for all of us to be able to help each other in this community of Heroes Charge. Those are just what I've been able to tell you from my own personal experience. Um, I wanted to show you one more thing. I wanted to show you guys why I don't think that defensive teams are going to be good anymore, because of Divine Knight, and I'll show you in a replay. I actually just won this fight this morning against someone from this team that I gained 114 ranks off of. So what you're gonna see is this is gonna be a mostly defensive team with like Chaplain and some others that literally does nothing because Divine Knight prevents Chaplain from really healing anyone. So check this out. Against Z Bernie, I can't really read that from here. So this is an awkward team that he's running. Like I agree with Turtle Fighter. Chaplin's interesting. I actually like the fact that he's running Disease Bringer. He's actually one of my favorite heroes that I never use, because I think he has so much potential, but I think his stats are nerfed. But look at that, like not much healing going on. Chaplin's doing her thing, but as you can see, there are no numbers popping up because they're cursed. Divine Knight has the ability to basically, as long as he's dealt you damage for a few seconds, you're not getting any healing. So I'm thinking that also prevents lifesteal as well, and that's why I was basically able to honestly win with ease. Like this was not even a challenge. I mean, as you can tell, our life bars are really high. So I should move my chat head up so you can actually see what's going on in the background. It's just Turtle Fighter getting beat up, and now we're about to finish off this guy here, Dwarf Warrior. The only mistake that I think I made in my team lineup is I probably should have taken out Griffin for Fallen Dominion, because Turtle Fighter kind of makes Griffin a little awkward. So, Fallen Dominion would have been a more precise way to deal more damage. But we still ended up winning in the long run. But I think if I ran Fallen Dominion, it would have been a faster fight. And as far as stats are concerned, of course, not Death's Voice. I always get Death's Voice and Vision Spirit backwards because they're from the same race, I believe. But anyway, Vision Spirit did over 100k, and then of course number 2 was Puppet Master. Uh, I mean, honestly, looking at my team right now, I mean, these would be some people I would highly recommend, but it's more of a personal preference too. And as you can tell on the other side, I mean, they didn't do much damage. That's only because this was a defensive team. I think this was a poorly constructed defensive team, and not because of Divine Knight. Taking Divine Knight out of the picture, I think that he should have replaced Imperial Executioner with maybe Cleric, to help out, to help keep, Turtle Fighter alive longer and distracting better. Um, I'm not a huge fan of Dwarf Warrior in defensive teams personally. I like the idea because he can deal damage, but ideally you'd prefer to be a little more pacifist so that we're not ultimating you as early as I could. So I would take out Dwarf Warrior for maybe like Death Knight. That would be much better. Um, and that's really it. I mean, I actually like Diseasebringer. I'm not going to tell him that he was wrong for doing that. I think that's a good concept because, he heals, and I think he summons probably the best clone in the game because it just soaks up so much damage. And it disturbs the middle line. Disease Bringer is really, really good theory. He's really good on paper. Like I said, the only reason I don't use him is because I think his stats are horrible and he dies too quick. Um, Arcane Sapper destroys him. Turtle Fighter almost makes him negligible. Like there's just so many things that was not right with him, and it makes me sad because I think Disease Bringer actually is good, especially in these defensive type teams. But the problem is with Divine Knight, for those of us who have it, we're going to be annihilating those teams like it's nobody's business. So now I'm no longer like fearing defense teams. I actually fear offensive teams now because they can actually beat me. So that's kind of what that is there. But hopefully this video has helped you guys out. I kind of wanted to do a video similar to this anyway because I was actually planning on just talking about, heroes to pick for each area. And since someone happened to bring it up for lower levels, I was like, well, this is perfect because this applies to both lower level and higher level people. So, hopefully this helps you guys out. Hopefully I've made each of your servers a little more competitive. That's pretty much it, man. So take it easy, guys. It was nice talking to you guys. And yeah, happy gaming. Saturday. Eat some.